What's up guys, Ruppy here, bringing you the team builder for my Week 1 game in the A-Drive Army Battle League Season 3, the Sinnoh region. I know I probably could have worded that a little better, but cut me some slack, I'm a little rusty at this, alright? Not so much draft format battling or battling in general, just actually looking to attempt to record these. In any event, so Week 1, we are playing a guy by the name of Crazy Mage, and his team, the San Diego Rotoms. And if you've watched any of my PTGT videos, then you probably know the format I'm looking to pull as far as this is concerned. You see my opponent's entire team off to the right. That's not exactly the order he drafted them, that is the order we kind of put them together in. As I explained in the draft video, the AABL, since it is a showdown league, is operating under a bit of different terms than probably most of the other draft format leagues out there right now. It was a tiered draft similar to what the NPA did, although we did actually keep, instead of running an S tier, we actually ran a full-fledged Mega tier, since with Showdown you can do custom battles, so we can use Megas that are currently not actually legal in Sun and Moon, but as my phone goes off in the distance, perfect start. So anyway, the San Diego Rotoms, if you look to their team off on the right, you see a team that's got quite a bit of an offensive presence to it. I don't think that can really be understated. This was actually a bit of a pain to team build for, because there are a lot of big offensive threats on his team. Going down the line, he has Starmie, which it's honestly one of the fastest mons. I think it actually is the fastest mon in terms of base speed, at least at first, regarding another one of his Pokemon. On his entire team, it hits hard, it gets a pretty fair amount of coverage. Water Psychic type is definitely not a bad typing. It can Rapid Spin hazards away. Obviously it's got Natural Cure, so status is not exactly the best of ideas, or it could also run Analytic, though considering his Starmie naturally outspeeds a good chunk of my team, I don't know if he'll run Analytic, but I'm not going to rule out the possibility in case he wants to try to pack some extra power. Lucario! The Fighting Steel type is definitely a pain for my team, because that thing hits a lot of things on my team stupidly hard. A lot harder than, in some cases, it really has any right to be hitting them. Minior there, that was the Pokemon I was just referring to, because it may not be that fast while it's inside of its meteorite shell, thanks to Shields Down. Once it actually loses that shell, I believe it hits base 120 speed. If I'm wrong on that, something will probably pop up. And obviously, that thing can Shell Smash. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, Minior was the biggest problem I had trying to prep for this team, because if that thing gets a Shell Smash up, Minior does a pretty nasty chunk to my entire team. And that is not a scenario I really want to find myself in. As of this point, the AABL has already had quite a few games, and a lot of them have basically been one mon getting set up and sweeping everything in its path. And I would prefer not to find myself on the wrong end of that right out of the gate. Gardevoir's up next. Psychic Fairy. That's his second Psychic type at that. Definitely very offensively powerful. It does not have the benefit of Pixelate like its Mega counterpart does, even though Pixelate did get a nerf this gen. But Gardevoir on its own can still actually function pretty well. From a bit of a defensive standpoint, it can be a bit of a cleric, and obviously it also runs as a very nice Scarf user as well. You see the Ditto sitting there, and if you've seen the PTGT, you know what fond memories I have of Ditto, considering it was on that team for me. Ditto is obviously another pain, because you can Choice Scarf that thing, it'll use Imposter to come in, steal your boost if you try to set up, and basically make you pay. And I really do not want to be giving Ditto any ammunition if I can help it. Vikavolt base 145 special attack is just plain ridiculous. It has Levitate, which, honestly, considering I have Tangle with a few, well, not so much bug electric types, but just bug types in general, Volcarona coming to mind, and I know that bug types actually do resist ground. Maybe if it wasn't for the fact that Vikavolt actually doesn't have that bad defenses, too, now that I'm thinking about it. I honestly don't know why Vikavolt has Levitate. I don't think it needs it. But still, base 145 special attack, it hits stupidly hard. The one benefit to me, however, is the fact that it is pretty damn slow for an electric type. He has the Beheeyem sitting there. Beheeyem is another pain, and it's one I wasn't expecting, because for having his third psychic type sitting there, Beheeyem actually hits really hard if it's running choice specs. Even if it's not running specs, I don't remember what its base special attack is, but I know it's actually pretty high. It's kind of weird that Beheeyem isn't surfaced more often in draft format, because it's actually a bit of a pain. Just because it hits things a lot harder than you would ever expect out of a Pokemon that I believe normally hovers around the RU-NU tier by Smogon standards. As you can see, his Mega, harkening back to the fact that we have the option of custom games on Showdown, so all Megas are technically legal in the AABL, even if they aren't actually legal within Sun and Moon itself yet. He has Mega Altaria, which is another pain, for obvious reasons. Pixelate did get a nerf, but if this thing starts setting up Dragon Dances on me if he runs a physical one, or if he actually runs a more defensive set and actually starts trying to run Cotton Guard on me, I could be in for a rough day, to say the least. Speaking of rough days, you see the Azumarill sitting there. Azumarill, I think we all know by now, that thing just hits like a truck no matter what set it's running. It can be banded. I've seen some people successfully run an Assault Vest with it. The Belly Drum set has become more popular, especially since Z Belly Drum is a thing. That is actually not the case as far as the AABL is concerned, thankfully, because the rule on Z moves, as I explained in the draft video, does stand that while you do not have to have a designated Z move user, you have to use an offensive Z move, which it makes things a lot more fair. I think that's the perfect middle ground between the rule sets for the GBA and the NPA as far as Z moves are concerned. So at least I don't have to worry about Z Belly Drum Azumarill, but regardless, I would prefer to not let that thing set up any belly drums on me at all if I can help it. Shedinja's a bit of a weird pick, if you ask me, just because of the fact that it only has 1 HP. I know he is probably banking on trying to catch his opponents in a situation where Wonder Guard will work in his favor, but Shedinja is just, with 1 HP and the fact that it just dies upon coming into any form of entry hazard, I just don't know. I'm not agreeing with the Shedinja pick personally, but I'm not going to argue with the man's what he wants to do. Trevant does have some bulk to it. It can be a bit of a pain in the ass, especially if he starts running a Harvest and with whatever berry he wants to run. That thing might be a pain to take down. I know I've actually seen some people run a Banded set fairly well. And Phantom Force might be a pain to... Well, actually it would have been a pain if I had been running a different strategy with one of my mons, but still, I don't want that thing hitting me Banded. And last but not least, he has Ninetales. He does not have Alola Ninetales, he has the Kanto Ninetales, which gives him a pretty nice fire type. It does have a pretty good speed tier, and obviously it can set up nasty plots. I don't necessarily see him, well, against anyone else, he might not be inclined to set up the Sun because it really doesn't benefit anything on his team beyond Ninetales. And Flash Fire definitely seems like the better ability in the long run, if you ask me personally, as far as that's concerned. If he wasn't trying to build a Sun team, which it does not look like he was. But I could definitely see him running Drought for this game, because if you watch my draft analysis, you know that I kind of have a bit of a Rain team. That, however, is not going to benefit him here if he does decide to try to run Ninetales purely for Drought to remove my Rain, because I am actually not bringing Rain this week. Yeah, I left the quote-unquote rain god itself, Pelipper, at home this week. I decided to go with a completely different strategy. Because the thing with his team is, it is quite offensively oriented for the most part, as you can see. But the thing about it is, he has a lot of things on his team that really would not appreciate coming in on Stealth Rocks. In fact, he only has one Hazard Setter, ignoring Ditto if it happens to transform into an opposing Hazard Setter. The one and only Hazard Setter on his entire team is Minior, and honestly, at least against my team, Minior would be better suited trying to set up a Shell Smash and then clean my clock than wasting a turn trying to get rocks up. And his one and only form of hazard control is Starmie. I did double check to be sure, and apparently Altaria does not get Defog, surprisingly. But yeah, Starmie is his one and only form of hazard control, which means if he does not bring that thing, or if that thing goes down, he is in a world of trouble, because Vikavolt would not appreciate coming in on rocks. Minior, if he's trying to run a Focus Sash to get a Shell Smash off, is not going to appreciate coming into rocks. Shedinja kind of needs rocks to be non-existent at all to actually be usable. And if I'm able to force frequent switches, Stealth Rocks are just going to be the bane of his existence as they chip away at his team. Since he might find some things to run leftovers on, but honestly, as I said, this looks on paper like a more offensive-oriented team. So if he's not running any sort of recovery at all, Stealth Rocks are really going to just grind him down, which is part of my game plan here. Now, let's get into my team, shall we? And you're gonna see a few interesting things, to say the least, but I have my reasons for it. So let's start off here with Panzer, my type Null. I think it's clear that Eviolite is the item to go with here. This was kind of an interesting decision on my part, to be perfectly honest, but I kind of have my reasons for it. You can see the EVs over there. I got max HP, I'm running 76 EVs in both defenses, and 104 EVs in attack, and I'm actually running Adamant. The reason for that is because, as far as coverage goes, a huge amount of his team is just hit ridiculously hard, super effectively, by Rock-type moves and Steel-type moves. And type Null happens to get both Rock Slide and Iron Head. So I can actually two-shot quite a few things with Null, to be perfectly honest, which would definitely open up a few holes in his team, especially since, even with 76 EVs in both defenses, when you tack on the Eviolite on top of that, Panzer is just going to be a royal pain in the ass to take down, period. I also threw Thunder Wave on there because if I can run some paralysis through his team, not so much to get para hacks, but just to slow his things down, especially certain key threats, then it's just going to make my life 10 times better to play this game the way I want to play it. I am aware that Minior is basically immune to Thunder Wave until I can knock it out of its shell, which is a bit of a problem, but Panzer actually does knock it into that range with one Iron Head. Actually, Panzer almost kills it with Iron Head too, depending on the spread. Especially if he gets up a Shell Smash and lowers his defense. Then, if he doesn't have a Focus, if he's running Focus Sash, he lives. Otherwise, Minior's not going to appreciate eating that. And since I know Panzer can take the hits, I threw Roar on here as well, just for that reason, to basically try and get some of his setup sweepers shuffled around, maybe rack up some Stealth Rock damage, if I can get those up, and overall just try to throw a wrench. That's basically Panzer's whole purpose here, to throw a wrench into his plans and try to steer this battle the way I want it to go. Because if I can actually play this battle according to my plan, I'm almost positive I'm going to win this game. Because if I can control this battle from beginning to end and not let his setup sweepers get out of hand, then I'm going to be in a really good position. One mon that's going to help me with that a bit is Master Fung. My Mineshaw that's joining us all the way from, well, he's taking a break from training the Shaolin monks over in wherever the temple is. They can be fine hunting down the Shengon on their own for a little bit. Master Fung is going to lend his services to my team. And he's going to be rocking a Choice Scarf this week. And using an ability that has kind of been forgotten when it comes to Mineshaw, and that is Regenerator. I know Mineshaw does not have the greatest of defenses, but it is able to live quite a few hits, at least off of a resistance, and be able to just recover all that damage off. Which is nice because I'm probably planning on spamming U-turn a lot in this game, just to be able to do some scouting. So being able to get that HP back would definitely be beneficial to Master Fung. I'm running Drain Punch over High Jump Kick, and the reason is, I honestly don't believe High Jump Kick is actually necessary. Yes, it is going to lay waste to a lot of things, but after running Calcs, just running Max Attack, Drain Punch still does more than enough damage to net the same OHKOs, and otherwise rack up a stupid amount of damage that High Jump Kick would. So it's actually better for me in the long run if I run Drain Punch to still net those KOs and restore some health as well, as opposed to running High Jump Kick, potentially missing, and then putting Master Fung in a really bad position as it watches half of its HP disappear and potentially the rest if I'm hit with a move shortly afterwards. Knockoff is kind of self-explanatory, trying to just get rid of items on some of its mons, which is going to be very valuable in also helping to control the flow of battle. And Stone Edge is really there. You're going to notice that one thing I wanted to make absolutely sure of when I was building this team is in regards to Shedinja. Every single one of my mons has at least one move that does in fact hit Shedinja super effectively. So if he does bring Shedinja and I don't simply have that thing wiped out via Stealth Rocks, any one of my mons will be able to 1v1 Shedinja without any problems. Yes, he might be able to set up if he does get it didn't happen to be running Swords Dance and has a Focus Sash to survive one hit. But some of my mons will definitely be able to take the hit from this thing without fear, even if he does Shadow Sneak. Especially since Priority... Well, I don't think Priority really got that nerfed. I think that was just mostly in regards to the existence of Psychic Terrain. So yeah, that's really the main reason Stone Edge is there, to have something to hit Shedinja with, even though Knockoff does the same thing. It also just... Vigavolt does not appreciate taking a Stone Edge. Minior would not appreciate taking a Stone Edge, even though Drain Punch... Actually, Stone Edge hits it super effectively. Drain Punch does... Drain Punch is... jury's out on that, but even still. Then we got Mabel down here. My Jirachi. And yes, named after everyone's favorite little sweetheart from Gravity Falls. Because let's be honest, Mabel's a bit crazy. And she loves having others indulge in her craziness with her. And that's what Mabel brings to the team, with a ridiculous amount of versatility. I actually toyed around with a number of different sets for this game that I wanted to use, but ultimately I settled on this one. Just running Leftovers, and going Stealth Rocks and 3 attacks, while mostly being a defensive set. U-Turn is there to basically join Master Fung in maintaining momentum. Fire Punch is there to hit a few things super effectively, and obviously give me something to hit Shedinja with. Stealth Rock, that's kind of obvious. Once Starmie's out of the picture, and Mabel gets up Stealth Rocks, then I can basically really control the flow of the battle from there, as I can just grind his team down. And Iron Head is Iron Head. It, even with no attack investment, it just hits things really hard. Obviously, with Serene Grace, there is the flinch chance. That is not the reason I drafted Jirachi, but I'm not going to argue, I guess, if the Hax Gods decide to give me some gifts, I suppose. Next up, I'm bringing a Super Saiyan named Jolteon. How has no one thought of that nickname yet? Seriously. I mean, just look at Jolteon. I mean, its body just kind of looks like Super Saiyan hair. Seriously. Underrated nickname. In any event, this is a pretty standard Jolteon in all honesty. I'm running Choice Specs, Volt Switch Thunderbolt, Hidden Power Ice, and Shadow Ball. Honestly, Jolteon and Mienshao being my main Volt Turn core with Jirachi doing some U-turning as well, I think is what's really going to help me truly control this game. Because Mienshao with the Choice Scarf, Jolteon just being ridiculously fast in general, it should put me in a good position to be able to fire off some good hits, especially with Jolteon running specs on that Volt Switch, and be able to get into something that would definitely be able to help deal with whatever threat is currently standing in my way. HP Ice is there for his grass types. Shadow Ball is there as a neutral ground plan, a lot of things. Well, he has 3 psychic types, and it hits all of them super effectively. And obviously, it's Smack Shedinja and Trevant for that matter. HP Ice is really only there for Mega Altaria. It doesn't hit that hard even with specs, unfortunately, depending on how especially defensively bulky he makes the thing. But it's still there to at least hit the thing, harder than Thunderbolt will, actually. Now, you've probably noticed the ability, and I have a brilliant reason for it. Honestly, other than maybe Starmie, and obviously Vigavolt, and I guess Gardevoir as well. Okay, he's got a few things that can run electric moves, but if you take a close look at his team off there to the side, he has a few electric resistances, but other than Shedinja with Wonder Guard, no electric immunities, except for potentially one, and its name is Ditto. Ditto alone is the only reason I'm running Quick Feet. I really don't think I need Bolt Absorb for this game, honestly. I'm not running Quick Feet banking on getting status so Jolteon can get even faster. The one and only reason I am running Quick Feet is because of that Ditto. Because it's an easy play to read. He switches Ditto in, which then uses Imposter to turn to Jolteon. And as soon as I try to Volt Switch out, I would then activate Volt Absorb, and now I'm in a bad position, especially if his Ditto is getting health back because of it. By running Quick Feet, I take that away from him. Because he'll bring in Jolteon, he'll bring in Ditto and turn into Jolteon, expecting to be immune to Volt Switch. And then as soon as I smack him with it, and Specs Volt Switch will still do a lot to Jolteon itself, I ran the calcs. I'm going to put him in a really bad position because at that point in time, depending on whether or not he brings Shedinja, he is going to realize that he has nothing that can really stop Jolteon from Volt Switching all over his team and giving me momentum in the process. That is the one and only reason I ran Quick Feet, to deprive Ditto of Volt Absorb if he comes in on Jolteon. It's actually kind of brilliant in reality. It's amazing what you can think of when you really put your mind to team building. Little tidbit there for any of the guys in the D-League who happen to be watching this. Sometimes if you really think about team building, you can notice some really big things that could definitely play to your favor and get into your opponent's head. Moving on, next up is my Mega Venusaur, or Herbivore. I know it's not exactly along the same lines of nicknames as some of the other members of my team, where they're referencing something from some show or whatever, but Herbivore has been a staple for me. Mega Venusaur, plain and simple, is my key answer to a lot of problems his team would give me otherwise, simply by going with a defensive set. Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, and HP Fire actually put in more than enough work, even without any real investment, offensively, to basically do what I need them to do. Mega Venusaur is my biggest answer to his Mega Altaria and his Lucario as well, because once a Mega evolves and gains access to Thick Fat, Mega Altaria really cannot touch this thing. Return, or Frustration, or even Hyper Voice if he runs a special set, going off a Pixelate, Herbivore will just be able to shrug that off. It's got the defensive bulk, 180 defense EVs, to be able to tank Earthquakes from that thing. Fire Blast? Yeah, Herbivore can take that, thanks to Thick Fat, and just synthesis off all the damage and just wipe it out with a Sludge Bomb. Plain and simple. And Lucario, owing to resistances and those 180 defense EVs and the fact I'm running a Bold Nature, Lucario's not really going to be giving me any problems either. Herbivore can even tank hits from some of his Psychic types as well if they hit it with a Psychic type move. Though, unless I feel like Herbivore is not necessarily needed or is able to take the hit and get a kill in return, I'm not necessarily going to actually be playing that scenario, because that, in hindsight, just cost me momentum, honestly, unless a scenario calls for it. And last but not least, I'm dipping into my Crystal Gems, or rather the Homeworld Gems, to bring to you Jasper the Dragonite. And Jasper here, I think Jasper is going to be the star of the show for this game. I'm running max attack, max speed. I'm actually running Adamant Nature because honestly, Dragonite, as long as it has max speed EVs, even going Adamant, Dragonite outspeeds what I need it to. And the things it speed ties with, I'm honestly expecting to probably end up being most likely Scarfed anyway, so me running Jolly wouldn't necessarily make a difference if I'm going up against something that's Scarfed, like, say, Gardevoir. Or Mega Altaria, which I don't plan on leaving Dragonite in on to begin with. But, look at this moveset I'm running here. I have Dragon Claw, I have Fire Punch, I have Thunder Punch, and I have Extreme Speed. Yeah, there's no Dragon Dance here. And honestly, I don't need it. Not for this team. Jasper is definitely able to pick off a lot of things with Extreme Speed. One thing that is definitely interesting to note is that if I can catch his Minear in a situation where, let's say, he has a Focus Sash on Minear and I don't have Rocks up when that thing comes in, and Jolteon happens to be in, he might think he's actually safe to set up a Shell Smash, because yes, I can Volt Switch out, but then I run into a scenario where he gets a Shell Smash off, he's at +2 speed, and now nothing on my team can really actually handle Minear. That's where I would bring in Jasper and pick it off with an Extreme Speed, no problem. Honestly, if he's not running White Herb, then the defense drop actually works in my favor and almost guarantees that whatever I hit that thing with to bring it down, especially if I knock it out of its Meteor Shell, then Extreme Speed is going to be able to pick it up despite being a resisted hit, because outside of that shell, Minear's defenses are kind of pathetic. Fire Punch is there for Trevant and, again, to give me something to hit Shedinja with if the 1v1 happens to surface. And Vigavolt too, I guess. Dragon Claw is there for Stab. Even though there's not a whole lot of really hits, I just wanted a Stab move just in case. But the big thing to note here is that Thunder Punch, and you've probably noticed the Electrium Z by now. Yeah, that's kind of my secret weapon here, because I have playtested this. Using Electrium Z to turn Thunder Punch into a Gigavolt Havoc, there isn't a water type on the face of the earth, especially not on his team, that is going to be able to live it. Azumarill, fried. Starmie, fried. Minear would definitely get fried if it's not sashed. Gardevoir would really not appreciate taking it. Basically, that's the whole reason I have the Electrium Z on there. Just in case he brings the Azumarill, or if I really want to just get Starmie out of the picture. Basically, as long as I keep multi-scale intact, Jasper is going to be putting in a lot of work for me this game, because it does so much to his team with this set alone that, well, there is a reason that Jasper was dubbed by Steven Universe as the ultimate Quartz Soldier, and Jasper is the ultimate Dragon-type wrecking machine. So, there we have it. That is my team for this game. Definitely let me know what you guys think, and this is going to be a fun game to play as I get back into draft format again, because I'm really excited for this game. I'm really excited to use this team and see how my plan all came together. So, to that end, on the night I'm recording this, I'm actually doing the battle tomorrow, and as of when this video is getting uploaded, which I'm planning on Saturday, Sunday will be the day you guys will see the battle, assuming Crazy Mage will allow me to put it up. That one is up to him. In any event, thank you guys so very much for watching. I apologize that this ran long. I have a habit of getting way too in-depth in my team builders, I will admit. I'll try to see if I can cut that down. but I'm not going to be able to make any promises on that. In any event, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.